Welcome back to WRAHERacing. A warm welcome back to WRAHERacing. My name is Abby, and we are live with another round, and we are live here at the Belgium Grand Prix at
My name is Abby.
Apologies, there's a bit of a delay to the start, and apologies to everyone around the drivers and stuff because of myself, but hopefully we now should be ready to go racing as we're here at round 3 of this championship and ready to roar around Spa to see everybody give it their all and enjoy racing out there. I wonder if we have a calendar. If we do have the calendar, I can read it out for you for Gold Season. And indeed, Gold Season 1, we're round 3 here at Spa. And then after that, we'll go over to the Netherlands at Zandvoort to race. Then round 5, Baku, which will be the halfway mark of the Grand Prix. I finally got my controller to work on F125 on PC because I was on keyboard, but keyboard is a little bit, not difficult, but there's just a bit of extra things you can do with the controller on. So really excited to move over and enjoy all of this with all of you to have all the fun. As calendar is definitely there, we enjoy it, and I think I've been tagged as well. So yeah, Season 1, we are at Belgium, round 3 at Spa. And then we move over to Zandvoort on August 6th. Then again, we're down to August 27th. So of course, racing with a bit of breaks around the track. So before we get started, we're going to look at the championship standings. Just give me a second to put them onto OBS. Eventually, we only have the driver standings, no constructors at the moment as it stands. But I think that's really we're going to just look at of what we have around here. And that should be all okay for us to look at. So look at that. We then have our drivers to move over, and Drivers' Championship, it is X1 who leads ahead of King Dot, but only 1 point separating the two drivers, 36 and 37 points each. Then comes Dwayne. That is Italia in-game, I believe, and at the moment they are right in P6. Of course, no, let's say, no laps at the moment. And also, I've got a different monitor as well this week, so it's an interesting experience from myself as well, and on 2K resolution, viewing the game at a resolution I never did before. So what I was talking about about the controls is what we can do if the cars are going side by side. We can move to the side to look, or even on the back of them. So as it stands in P3, P4 for 2K, 15 points, 10 points for Duo in game, their name is, and then Baker in P6 without a point this season so far. So we're just going to move over to get on this now. Is interesting and getting about 90 frames per second, but let's say that's probably because of the CPU temperatures. If those are a little bit better, definitely that's going to be times better, and almost going wide was Tony in that Williams. Meanwhile, who's going to be the next driver, or rather the first driver to come over the line and put a lap on the board for us to have a look at? The McLaren of X1, currently the championship leader by just 1 point, is on a outlap. On the outlap so far, so that's rather not what we are going to be looking at the moment. But the next driver who is going to be coming over the line, third in the Drivers' Championship, and that is 2K. Not third, I think he was quite far down with 15 points to their name. I think P4 for them was. Then it's going to be 2K. After that, it's going to be the Williams of Italia, but before them, I was going to say that's going to be Tony, and that is going to be Tony indeed, but he's going to have to let the Red Bull of 2K gets past. Will it be easy for 2K get past? And 2K now coming around the bus stop chicane. Over to the finish line they go. How fast? That is 146.665. That's going to be fastest? I don't think so. How good is it, Tony? And Tony goes fastest 145.2. One man who is going to say that don't worry about graphics, but look at me. We're going to say You didn't do enough. Only P6 for them so far. Of course, just a single lap, so you can definitely say that they're going to improve later. And of course, after qualifying, try and wait for 3 minutes. So 3 minutes, the wait going to be for everybody to wait on. Meanwhile, after the qualifying ends out there, they're going to be on a lap of their own as well. But are these guys going to be going fast or faster than they did before? I mean, certainly a bit of battery used by Crank, maybe trying to go faster or better, but they've definitely slowed down, and certainly their pit lane is occupied, so I'm not sure if they're going to pit or they will stay out at the moment. But let's see, how good will that be? They are indeed going to continue over to the line to try and have an improvement on their time. And yes, they can. 147.905. Still second slowest car in the session, P7 for them. But still decent enough. So yeah, go fast and better than they ever did before. At the moment, there is everybody who is on a outlap apart from Crank. They've got their battery charged up to 100%, but I believe they're going to simply come into the pits right now. They've got no fuel left at all, and there's a lot of drivers beginning their flying laps, and it's Dot who is going to be beginning their lap right here. Remember, they've got 36 points to their name, just one less than X1. X1's currently in P6 so far, so definitely X1's slightly behind, or rather down, than Dot, only 1 point ahead of Dot. But if anything, Dot can do better this week and just get a single point better than X1. They would possibly be doing a better job, and that was a bit of a shock as my monitor turned off once again. I'm not sure why is that happening. I would hope that is just because of a loose power cable or a loose HDMI. Other than that, that's going to be maybe a thing to worry about, but won't really be worrying about that at the moment. So yeah, we get the information of the team standings only after round 3 that we will have. X1 at the moment in P6 so far. We haven't seen something that we are about to witness right here from X1, from our championship leader. They slightly had less of a good qualifying last time out, but their race pace was, was decent, even at Silverstone. I believe it was Silverstone, if I'm not mistaken, last time out. But then we're gonna go over to somebody who is closer to the finish line or about to come to an end of their flying lap. Meanwhile, one man who is indeed going to be coming to an end of their flying lap, and that'll be King Dot, making their way around the bus stop chicane now. It is now or never for them. They've got the proper opportunity to make it a pole position round here, and they do make it a pole position unless Tony could deny him over the line, and Tony cannot deny him over the line. That's going to be a good lap, a lap good enough for P1 and a pole position for Dot at the moment. They're trying to overtake X1 in the Drivers' Championship. Will be, but we're going to have to find out all of that so far, because we haven't got the opportunity maybe so far, but we'll have our chance and information about what we need to do. Remember, there's going to be a 3-minute break that everybody has been told to have after qualifying ends. But so far, we are right here to look at drivers making better progress than their previous lap times. And we jump over to onboard to Attila over the line, and only P7 for them. They find over 610s. But they will need a lot of time. They will need a lot of time for them to do better than they did earlier. Richard at the moment, P5 for them, 147.104. Only one driver in the 146, all four, bottom 4 in the 147s, while the top 3 are in the 145s. And the top 2 are rather the closest and closer to each other overall. Around Spa, it's a big lap. It's a huge, it's a pretty big track, so it's time about, you need at least 2 minutes for an outlap, or 1 minute 50 for you to be better than, for you to simply take the checkered flag to start your lap, with only a minute and a half remaining now. If you're going to come out now out of the pits, let's say, so Richard's qualifying is going to be over. They're going to come into the pits. P5 is all they can take, so they can only go downwards from here, but only if others are out there to beat their lap time. X1 currently in P6. Remember, they are our championship leading the championship by just 1 single point. Even though we've only had 2 rounds of racing, we need 8 more rounds to really decide our championship winner here. But at least we've got some information on what we will have, on what we are about to have, as Kins now begin their flying lap. One of the first drivers to start it. Attila on theirs as well, but pretty much that then looks is going to be qualifying over for them. They've slowed down to let others get past one race. Meanwhile, now Kins is going to be the first driver to take the checkered flag after Richard, who was already in the pits and over to the finish line. 145.640 is all they can do. What about X1 now? It is their time to go over the line, and only P5 for them. 147.005 is all they can get around here. Still, there is time for all those others around to beat these guys on the track and give it a go. But can they do that? We're going to watch out for one Mercedes over the line already. The other one comes over the line as well. Good enough for P6. What about Tuk? He's invalidated their lap. Meanwhile, somebody else that we can watch out for, and we can watch out Tony over the line, and Tony is going to beat King's time. Can King roar to the top and be like a king? But not this time. 145.096, just about enough, but not good enough, as Tony takes pole. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your fastest driver. Alright, we have the time, and we should be going racing right here. Just before lights are out, we will have a formation lap around the circuit, the Spa-Francorchamps, and then we'll move over to racing. So 22 laps of racing. You'd expect a one-stop strategy here around Spa, which is possibly the classic, with Tony on pole, followed by King in P2. Then comes Kins in P3, will Tuk in P4 as well. It's a PlayStation top 4. That's interesting. Interesting to see. With X1 in P5, followed by Crank in P6. At the moment, of course, trying to warm up the tires, followed by Richard in P7 and Attila in P8. So 8 drivers. Who do you think is going to be winning it, ladies and gentlemen? Will it be the challenge of somebody that we haven't seen yet yet impressive yet? Who will it be bringing the top? Will Tony keep their pole position, change it into a victory? Or will it be Dot coming back at the top after just separating? Remember, they just need 1 point over, or rather 2 points over X1 to keep the Drivers' Championship lead and after round 3. Meanwhile, Kins in the top 3 as well, or even Tuk or X1 in the top 5 could have a go. So simply a one-stop strategy, as I said, medium, and then simply a hard tire to the end. Or in Richard's case, starting on the hard tire, so that's interesting. It's strategy, but only a single driver on a different tire, while everybody else on a different set of tires out here. It's coming to an end of their formation lap, and to go racing here at the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. Well, it's going to be Tony on pole, followed by King James in P2, and look at that, they're facing their way towards the inside line, towards Tony, to try and overtake. And take the position at the start already, and we're going to be ready to go racing here at Spa. Tony on pole, King in P2, followed by Kins in P3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 red lights at Spa, and we go racing here at Spa. It's going to be a brilliant start for Tony out there. A lot of wheel spin, but Kins got a decent start as well. Kint has got a decent start as well, and King has been overtaken by Kint out there. There may be a bit of a yellow flag, not quite sure, as X1 has overtaken Took as well. Drivers have made progress already, followed by Tony still in the lead, only a tenth and a half, as Kint is right behind them with the help of Straight Mod and everything out there. There's going to be these drivers going side by side. Meanwhile, King is going to be there, and Tony will have the outside line just about almost making contact. Tony runs a little bit wide. That's going to allow Kins to get past. That's going to allow King to get past as well. Or will it though? Because they're side by side. King will have the inside line, and they'll send it on the inside route there. And that progress and overtake will be made. They nearly make contact. And now Tony has the inside out there, but just about they have to back out. Meanwhile, we'll have Took in P4, followed by X1 in P5 so far. And this is only the start, ladies and gentlemen. We're just beginning with overtakes, as Crank almost went for it there on the McLaren, but it wasn't going to be the case so far, as we're going to watch out from the back of the McLaren to see how good is the Mercedes doing, as almost the McLaren driver lost it, and they're going to push the Mercedes a little bit wide, and Crank is going to find themselves in the gravel, just about trying to exit, but it's not going to be good enough so far. But let's see, what about X1 right here? They've been overtaken by Took, who they overtook at the race start into the chicane. Maybe they would have thought they're going to go for it. It wasn't really going to be, and indeed isn't the case out there. Meanwhile, at the top, it is Kins who has taken the race lead ahead of Tony. Tony's lost out, but it's now going to be time between King and Kins. Meanwhile, Kins is going to gain a bit of advantage, while and look at that, King has lost out. King has lost out of the position, but he's played a game here. He's going to use boost. He's going to use straight mod to get these guys on the straight now. Can they get it though? Because we're going to watch out the fight between Kins and Tony out there. He's going to send it on the inside line of Kins, and they nearly make contact, or slightly bang wheels between the two drivers. But Tony takes back the lead of the race on lap 2. Which was taken back from Kins at the race start after. In fact, Tony had a decent race start, even though he had a lot of wheel spin. But it was rather some other drivers. King and then Kins having a fight each other. Look at that. King, I think he's going to be organized. Sure, others are going to be doing their thing as well, but King looks a little bit cautious, a little bit, someone who just takes care, who just tries to enjoy, tries to, just wait for the opportunity, you have to say. Maybe. But of course, we were very early as well, so to really call out a thing isn't really going to be much. Meanwhile, 40%. Rather, these batteries are King now around the outside, trying to get past Tony. Will have the inside into the bus stop chicane, and rather will have the race lead. So top 3 were pretty much within the game, within the time of each other in qualifying, and they certainly are in this race so far. And definitely, I think, brilliant job by these guys. And there was the Red Bull of Took. I wonder if he went towards the wall. I'm not sure what happened there on the exit there. I think the drivers have been racing brilliantly. I think start was decent, not bad at all. Maybe a bit of wheel banging or some wheel spin from the drivers. But I think it was decent. Like I've seen worse starts. But there's going to be now Tony around the outside. Will have the chance, and they get past one of the drivers, and they certainly do, and that will be Tony taking back the position that was taken from them out there, just making sure they keep it to themselves. Of course, depending on how, and of course with I mean, incidents-wise, I don't remember much apart from a little bit of it between Crank and one of the other drivers. X1 it was, I believe, in the McLaren, trying to race each other. Meanwhile, we're going to watch out Richard, who is trying to get past the Ferrari while trying to stay ahead of the Mercedes. X1, remember, has a time penalty to themselves. Meanwhile, Tony gets past James, rather gets past King out there, Dot, and Cranks in P3 as well. Everybody doing their job, doing their thing, and I was just moving and my monitor's turned off, so just a bit. Hang on with us for a moment. Not sure what is going on. It's back again. It's definitely going to be because of me moving my computer table. So a little bit because of that, possibly. But it's back. So that is great to know right here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be our another chance to watch out the fight between the top two, and that's going to be Tony taking back the lead again. Can King come around the outside? I mean, even in those F125 cars, that straight was a place where we see a lot of overtakes. So, and these 26 cars, if you simply have a battery, you could just sweep past the other driver, and I think that's good thing in terms of overtakes, but definitely not in terms of Formula 1. And Richard's going to send it on the inside line of the McLaren, and so will Attila send it on the inside of Crank, and gets past out there, and move has been made by both as Richard tried to get past the McLaren and they can't quite do it, just still staying behind and keeping the P5 to P6 to themselves, letting X1 have the P7 position at the moment. Meanwhile, Attila and Crank and these little four-car fight between these drivers, and next one goes a little bit wide. The top two are again going to be with each other, so we're going to have our own little information center maybe on what we are about to witness, the top two in a race of their own. But we're going to switch over to Richard and go and overtake against X1. Meanwhile, Tony now comes around the outside, a possible chance to defend their race lead, and they certainly do at the moment so far. Oh, what happened there? What happened there? We see one of the cars having a front wing flying off them, and I'm not sure who that was. Was that the Red Bull of Duke, or was that the Red Bull of... was that the Red Bull of Duke, or the Mercedes of Kins right there? Not sure what has happened there. A bit of a front wing piece following up. Might be from the Mercedes, I believe. And if we can have an idea whether it is from the Mercedes... I think so, because I think Red Bull is clear. Meanwhile, Richard tries to get past, and he does get past. One of the interesting early pit stop, in my opinion. Sure, they're going to go onto the medium tires, but hard tires, but going up for a set. And all right, there we go. There's now going to be time between these guys. All right, so you meant medium and hot lap issue, and all right, so no rain. Is the weather set on dries pretty much? No rain on purpose. People lose fuel towards end of the race on wets. All right, so that's interesting. So if everybody on the wets or enters, probably with a bit of rain on track, could possibly lose fuel to the driver. The drivers could lose fuel, causing issues. I mean, that's definitely a problem that most certainly... I mean, honestly, the amount of times you come around here and there is issues coming up from F1 24, 25, and now the 26 DLC. Like, I've complained like numerous times about, not even complained, just it's almost like just putting a fact out there, which has been causing issues, as and also these regulations. Sure, we're seeing overtakes. I mean, even though it's exciting, maybe we're watching overtakes, but like they're happening way too often. It's not even as exciting as it should be, in terms of it's like you're trying to go too fast or making the progress, and then now see, like Dot's behind, he's automatically going to make an overtake. Unless Tony could do some defending, there is always going to be a chance for Tony to defend. But King to come around, and he's once again got the opportunity to get past the Williams. But can they get past the Williams, though? Maybe they cannot this time. So that is interesting out there. So it's still Tony who leads and stays ahead of the RB of Dot out there. Meanwhile, other drivers are in a fight of their own as well, but that we're in a chance of our fight at the top. Meanwhile, Kint's in the pits along with X1 now on brand new hard tires as well, as X1 tries to get past Kint's. Rather isn't the case, or at least not what they are doing so far. Well, we'll move over to Attila and Crank up in for P5 and 6 so far. Remember, we're only on lap 7 out of 22. Even though it's just 22 laps, lap times around here are pretty long, let's say. So it pretty much takes similar time, of course, to some of the other Grand Prix around the circuit. And we have Andrea, I think, in the comments. I mean, if you could probably communicate in English, that'll be better for me to read out the language you've put out in the comments. I could not read. Meanwhile, one man who can read, an opportunity to overtake, and that was going to be Kins to try and stay ahead of X1. And for the moment, they can stay ahead of X1, and they have certainly done that for the moment, but how long will that be? How long before their position is taken, before we see an overtake once more? And look at that, Tony is going to have to defend one more time, and Tony is going to need to defend, and they certainly have, but I'm sure King is not getting past him, but King could simply be using him as their shield. You know, let's say as their shield of staying behind, maybe not for too long, as they sent it into the right-hand side corner, and it's time for them to get past and make an overtake out there, as that'll be the time for them to do, but they cannot do it at the moment so far. Meanwhile, the top two have been going one after the other. Each are just simply going after each other every time. Every now and then they have themselves fight each other and really make an overtake. We'll see all of that. The top two are rated. I'm sure there is going to be drivers around the other part of the circuit. And X1 has hit one of the braking boards, I believe, on the outside of the track there. So definitely they need to be more focused. Maybe they were there at the top because there was nobody to challenge. But now the challenges have increased and the competition is coming up to get better and better. And if it is to get better, it is going to be time. Meanwhile, Tony is into the pits along with Took right out there and over to the line. So 8 laps on those medium compound tires. And that means okay. I mean, 8 laps on the mediums. Possibly you're going to see 13 to 14. You know, 13 to 14 lap on the hard tires. I mean, apologies to everybody, but if you could please comment in English. Other than I cannot really understand the other languages, so it'll be better for you guys to really, you know, comment in English if there is any queries you want, any answers, any suggestions, something you could you know we can do, or simply showing support for your favorite drivers. I mean, at the moment, King at the top, Richards in P2 with the bottom 5 drivers into the pits then. So everybody is pitted apart from the top 3 so far. That is then interesting with the everybody having to pit apart from the top 3. And yes, exactly, English please, if possible. I mean, if you can maybe if you cannot talk yourself, just put it on the translator. I mean, I can't do so while commentating, so it would be a little bit, you know, let's say, not risky, but of course, you know, it's almost like while it's live on TV, you're commenting the language the commentator cannot understand. But all right, well, jokes aside, there's going to be now King into the pits as well. 9 laps on the medium tires, so for them it's going to be time to do about 12 to 13 laps on those hard tires. So it's either a late soft tire pit stop or a simple time. And now everybody has pitted while Richard's into the pits as well. But meanwhile, Attila and Richard are not going to be in the pits. James is, and Tony has undercut James. Kintz gets the fastest lap on those medium tires now. But certainly there are things that we are looking for at the moment so far. The 2 Williams drivers in P2 and 3, but of course one of them has pitted. The other one is a whole pit stop behind, but with over 12 laps still remaining in the race. Halfway distance is still remaining in this Grand Prix. Halfway distance is still what we are going to be looking for so far. Anybody else we can look out who's going to be fighting? Meanwhile, Tony and Attila are going to be out there. So James is King, out of the pits, but currently in P4 at 1.1 seconds to Tony out there. Tony themselves is about 4/10 to the car in front of Attila, and Attila, I mean, would probably just let their teammate get past, and indeed they will let their teammate get past out there. So Tony gets back to P2. Are we going to see Richard into the pits just right now? We're going to have to watch out for it. Meanwhile, there could be a little bit of a fight, maybe, but I don't think Attila is going to really risk it, possibly, and Richard's going to continue. Of course, remember, Richard's on the hard tires, so he anyways is automatically going to be pitting a little bit later than everybody else because those are on the medium hard tires. On the medium tires. They were at the start of the race, so it's just about, you know, now also there's only a single driver on the hard tires, but then it would definitely be a bit of a data for everybody else to take, as how many laps can you do on those hard tires technically so far. Watching out Richard on their lap, 11th lap on the hard compound tire. They'll definitely go one more lap, I'd say lap 12. At the end of lap 12 they can pit, or at the end of lap 13 if they're pushing a little bit too long, or even trying to go a little bit faster on those medium tires towards the end. But of course, we're going to watch and find out all of that later on in the Grand Prix, as we're pretty much just halfway distance now. We're only going to be halfway distance at the end of this lap. So it's almost like, as I said, you know, even though it's only 22 laps, but those are pretty long laps. Depending on lap times, of course, if there is way too fast drivers, they're going to finish very fast, but a casual lobby is going to take a little bit of time. Then you know, then those who are very competitive. Of course, racing doesn't matter. I mean, racing can be anywhere around. So what matters is really drivers being to similar pace to each other. Meanwhile, we're going to look at penalties. So it's 6 seconds to X1 out there. 6 seconds to X1, 3 seconds to Crank. So the only 2 drivers with a penalty spot. I mean, honestly, isn't really a place where you'd see a lot of penalties. Sometimes you can do, but of course, you know, there isn't much, as Tony now gets the fastest lap. Remember, 1 lap separating the 2 drivers. Of course, King stayed a lap longer, and the undercut from Tony and Williams worked on Dot so far, but for how long, how quick, or how more time we can wait before we see them catching up to each other. 1.6 seconds separating the 2 drivers. I mean, our race leader still staying out. They're only 3.3 seconds of Tony now, so definitely losing time to Tony. But it's about time. Meanwhile, it's about time we see an overtake. Finally, after every single driver has made a pit stop, apart from Richard, who's in the lead of the race, and Crank still, in fact, staying in 7th place and not close enough to really be making a place on X1 out there. All right, then, going back to this little battle for P6 out there. So far in this race, of course, more than over 10 laps still remain, and Richard is into the pits, so that just... So hard tires off and medium tires on to the Ferrari. Car number 21 just going to come out in P5 and ahead of X1 and Crank out there. 12 laps on the hard compound tires, so pretty much about a benchmark for everybody to you know, really have a look at in terms of how good or how that is certainly going to be. Meanwhile, it's time for them to overtake, and X1 does get passed by Ferrari. And did X1 go a little bit wide there? And yes, they did. X1 absolutely runs off the track, takes on the runoff area, but that is going to make them lose position. So that's in fact going to give an easy position to Crank. But remember, since Richard's just come out of the pit lane out there, they're going to have cold tires. Even though they're on the medium tires, they're going to have a bit of cold tires. But now the tire deficit is going to be huge. Of course, they need to make progress, you know, with their tire deficit. They now need a P4 minimum, I'd say P4, P3 even, if they can beat over Took. Maybe you could say so, sure, Tony and King could be in a fight of their own, but they can catch up to Kins and Took if they can. But of course, it depends how much they take care of these medium tires as well. Of course, with not much remaining, only 9 laps now remain in this Grand Prix. Depends on how much you in fact want to take care of, but it's just simply how much you're gonna need to take care, but then also try and be fast as well. You know, and first, I think now they wouldn't really have to worry about time management. I think they definitely, if a little bit, if they want to, but now as long as, you know, also depending on what everybody else wants to do, because let's say maybe Tony and King can, but let's say X1 or Kins, who's on 8-lap-old hard tires, is definitely going to need another pit stop unless they want to finish the race on these tires. So maybe we're going to see an overtake right here from Crank to get past Richard, and Richard's just going to do enough to just stay around the outside on that and not let Crank get past, and that is all that they need to do, and they do it brilliantly enough to make it a nice chance for them to have an overtake, and they certainly do have a position with Crank still staying in P6. Of course, with everything around, this race took turns from everything racing to a bit of a calm situation, but for how long is that going to stay calm? Because now it's time for us to watch out the fight that we were watching all race long between Tony and Dot out there. It's time for these two to roar again, and it's to give us the entertainment that we are looking for. 8 tenths separating the two drivers.
Dot now gets the fastest lap. He's been catching up to Tony lap after lap. Can they do it? Just going up through a Rouge and Redion. They'll have the opportunity to make the approach for the lead. Are they going to be making it with only 3/10 separating the two drivers? I doubt they won't be. I doubt why they wouldn't be, but maybe they're not going to be close enough this time, and rather they won't be, or in fact they probably wouldn't even try, simply just still stay behind. And as I said, even before the pit stops, unless there was a proper opportunity for them to get past, they were simply trying to slow down, or let's say they were just chilling behind the Williams and have the battery ready for the time when they need to get past the Williams, when there is only a last couple of laps remaining. And then you see a switch for the race lead, for the race win. Eventually it would turn into, well, Crank has slightly lost out to Richard now. X1's down in P8, so a two-stop strategy for them. And I think around here you would possibly see what stop strategy, no matter how much unless it's 100% distance race. I think most of the time it is a one-stop race out there.
Right then, there was a bit of a maybe an opportunity. We would have thought it's going to be there for King, but again, it wasn't to be this time around into the final corner. It's once again time for them to go up through a Rouge and Redion and try and make a move, and even before they could make it up ahead and get past Redion, and they're going to make it up through a Rouge, and they're going to make the pass now, or can they make the pass? They'll have a move on the inside line. The Williams driver's just going to give them enough space. Will it be enough? Not at the moment so far, or will it be though? Because again, the Mercedes RB driver is fully behind and almost fully committed to make the move, but the Williams around the outside is not letting them get past either. They're going to be doing everything, and they need to do to stay ahead of the RB. They slightly make contact, a bit of a front wing, not damaged, but slight bit of contact between the two drivers with the wheel touching of the car in front, and they're again going to be going side by side. They nearly take each other out there. They're going to be wheel to wheel, and the RB gets past Tony, or does either, because Tony nearly comes back at him to take the position back again, and there goes Dot as King takes the lead of the Grand Prix and leads the Belgium Grand Prix on lap 16 out of 22. And it's all going to shape on from here of what we see, of how we see these drivers go over this performance by each other. As Tony will now have the chance to get past, as Tony's nearly pushed into the grass, and they have to back out of it. Otherwise, it could have been nasty blow for the Williams driver. And of course, after such a good qualifying performance and the race throughout, they do not want to lose out on that race victory chance. Even if they can't win, P2 is going to be more than enough to be happy about, because if they don't even finish, that whole P2, over 18 points of a second place finish will be gone. But nothing is certain. Nothing is certainly certain at the moment, as they're already now side by side, with both of them nearly running out of battery and almost being on 0%. Who's going to be the driver that stays ahead, or that has to back out into it's the right-hander? And there goes Tony around the outside, even make the move and get themselves ahead of King, though, or can they? Because now King is going to come on the inside line. Tony has to back out. Tony runs a little bit wide. They've just given him enough space to, and they nearly, King loses the car. They slightly touch a bit of grass, but on the exit there, they almost lost the rear end. An excellent race in between the drivers so far.
it depends how long before we have a proper known on who's going to win this. Maybe not till the final lap, not even till the final corner, as Tony takes it back and gets the lead to himself. King might come around the outside. Tony locks up a little bit, and that's going to give King the opportunity to get a better exit out of the final corner. Doesn't quite do it, but I think he's going to stay behind him until Rouge and Ready On, and again go after that straight, going uphill into Rouge and then Ready On so far, and then only then try and go for a move up around the track, up around the circuit for these guys. Remember, I mean, there's no fuel to worry about for the top two so far, as Dot is just not going to be close enough to be making a move around here. Remember, lap 18 out of 22, 5 laps to the end including this one, and only 4 will remain at the end of this, or rather after this lap so far. As Took now gets a 3-second time penalty, even though they're over 4.5 seconds ahead of the next car, so there isn't really much, there isn't going to be much they're going to worry about, but yeah. And now, once more, there's going to be a chance for King to get past Tony. Tony's going to defensive on the inside, or rather the outside line, and just about will do enough to get themselves ahead of Tony out there, and they certainly keep themselves ahead. As we move over to lap 19 now, out of 22. It's that time again on who takes it all, who tries to take it all for the opportunity of performance, as they're nearly going side by side, even up through Rouge and Ready On so far, as King has taken the lead and he has overtaken Tony out there. They're going to be side by side. They almost have identical battery to use, as King is on the inside line, and they're just going to go defensive, or rather can they though, because they're going to be side by side, and Tony makes the overtake. An absolutely epic race in between the two drivers. Both of them have been pushing absolutely everything, and really pushing everyone, and in fact pushing them each other onto the absolute limit of racing and side-by-side action we can have so far. Three and a half tenths separating the two drivers already so far. But of course, I mean, unless in these regulations, especially if you maybe have not much better. Oh, there's going to be time, a bit of lock up from Tony. He's almost locking up each time. And on the exit there, Dot might have the opportunity to use boost and extra energy to get ahead of Dot there, or of Tony out there. Can they though? Because Tony might just have to stay ahead, or might end up staying ahead. And Tony's going to use, I think I would have thought he's going to let him get past there, but he doesn't let him get past. And they're going to have a battle of their own around the this section of the track now, the proper overtaking straight up through Rouge and Ready On, and now only 3 laps remain, including this one, only 2 after this one so far. So this is where it all counts, where everybody is looking for, as Tony switches to the inside line, just not close enough to be making that move. Remember, they've made 11 and 10 laps on those hard tires, so 12 and then 13, almost 14 laps, maybe 13 laps, rather 14 probably for Tony, and then 13 for King to go over the line as Richard currently in P5. Remember, the only one who was going to the different strategy as compared to everybody else who were going for a medium hard strategy. A couple of them even made 2 stops, and I think there was only one driver who made it two stops, or there was more than that. There was only one. That was X1, who's currently in P8, so he's definitely going to be losing his position, or his race lead, his championship lead, sorry, into round 3. 5 tenths now separating the two drivers. Only 14% of battery remaining for Tony, and only 30% for King out there. So it is all really exciting between drivers, and now between these guys. Moving over to lap 21 out of 22 right now, and it is their time to roar. It is their time to shine on who gives us the proper amazing known of what or who of which driver we're going to be all able to do. Of course, other drivers, I mean, 6 tenths separating the two drivers. Probably by the time if you move over to check other drivers, it's going to be too late. But now Tuki is currently in P3 with a 3-second time penalty, 3.6 seconds to the next car ahead. Then it is Richard in P5, followed by Crank in P6. Almost everybody of these guys is racing on their own, with the Attila in P7, followed by X1, who is in for another pit stop. I mean, at the moment, if you've came to make a pit stop, you're almost going to come in to retire. Otherwise, there's absolutely no way. In fact, they're going to go for a set of soft tires. Interesting choice. I mean, they've already made 2 stops, and then they're in last place anyways, unless they're trying to steal the fastest lap. I mean, there isn't really anything that they would really, convince me, or, being in their position to really make a pit stop, knowing that there isn't really much you need to do or you should be doing. So, exactly as it is, they're going to have to finish anyways in last place. Meanwhile, we're just making our way with the top 2 are in the final corner, the final sector on the track to really have a go onto the final lap of the Grand Prix. And now this is where it goes all of how it should, and this is where it is all gonna go exciting and also brilliantly fascinating to see which driver is going to be the driver that we see win. Maybe others are going to be getting closer to each other. With the final lap of the Grand Prix, with over 90% of battery remaining in the Williams, it's going to be time for Tony to try and get past Dot, or can Dot in the RB stay ahead of Tony? Who's going to be the driver that we see come around up the Rouge and Redion? And only 20% of battery remaining. Similar battery percentages once again between the top 2 drivers as Tony gets past King. They're going to be side by side. None of them wants to back out. Who is going to be the driver as Tony has the inside line now? They're racing brilliantly, and certainly one thing you have to appreciate as wheel-to-wheel battles between these drivers have been as excellent as they can be, and it's all about time and time again. We see them race, and I think into the final corner, in towards the bus stop chicane is even will be the place where we see drive with them switch positions, and Richard has made a mistake and he's lost out his P5 to Crank out there. We can have a go at them, but definitely not now, as we're watching the top 2 make their way through the middle sector now, trying to take each other up, other on the chin, on the racing action that we've seen so far. Is it going to be enough? And there is red fuel for Tony. Is he running out of fuel right here? Because their car with no battery to each driver, but that fuel running out. And I think now they might be slowing down. Or are they, though? Because right here, they're nearly going to go into the back of King there. And they're going to try and keep themselves to go side by side. Can they go side by side? Rather, they cannot. And it's going to be James who comes over the line to win the Belgium Grand Prix and take victory here at Spa de Francorchamps, with Tony out absolutely excellent racing all along. Here's just in P2, followed by Tuke in P3. Then come Kinson P4 with Crank now taking the checkered flag. in P5, followed by Richard, who lost out his position and finishes P6, rather taking P5 because of penalty to Crank. Then a Tila in P7, followed by X1 out there. An absolutely amazing ending. X1 going for a set of soft compound tires, and I wonder if they're going to be improving. They're going to improve themselves, but I don't think they're going to improve enough to really see themselves post a fastest lap of the race, or maybe they will, to take that from King in the end. I'm sorry, I say James because there used to be another league where there used to be a King James. So every time now I see King James comes out for some reason. But look at that. In fact, X1 might have the fastest lap out here in this race, and they do have it, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be the man on screen who takes victory and wins the Belgium Grand Prix at Spa. An absolute epic ending to this Grand Prix, and hope all of you watching really enjoyed it and had all the fun that was necessary to take, and the entertainment that all of these drivers excellently gave us, and surely make sure we enjoy everything and nothing to worry about. And look at that then. We're going to have ourselves see this brilliant podium celebrations with King on top and Tony in P2, followed by Tuke P3. So RB